I want to start with Aparna Sen because Kolkata, in a sense, is where these organic protests have taken place after that horrific rape and murder in a government hospital. Where does the buck stop, according to you, Aparna Sen?
Rajdeep, I think, first of all, let me thank you for asking me to this roundtable. I think it's important that we discuss this. I also think, I think we have to think of a long-term solution. The patriarchal mindset has to change, but that's more easily said than done. I think that we have to stop certain things like, the way families treat their daughters, the way they differentiate between their sons and daughters. This, of course, everyone knows. This has to stop. Also, all of us who are protesting, how many of us actually believe in and enforce the equality of women in our home, in our familiar surroundings? How many of us do that? Actually, there are a lot of things that need to change. I don't know how they will, but we often say that, the films that we have, the mainstream cinema, often portrays women in an unfavorable light. They objectify women, but it's not only the films. It's also the TV serials where very regressive material is often shown. That has to change. I think schools must take part in it. Schools must teach gender studies with a moral bias. And I think I would advocate something that Tagore had said long ago, Rabindranath Tagore, that is, women should be taught the art of self-defense. He had wanted to start judo in Shantiniketan. I really think that women must learn, not our generation, not even the next generation, but the present generation, the young people. From school, they should start learning how to defend themselves physically.
Okay, you've raised a number of issues, but I want to again get more specific at the outset, which is where does the buck stop? Lalita Kumara Banglam, we are showing these protests of political parties, of doctors, organic protests in some instances that started with what happened in Kolkata. We are now seeing a station in Maharashtra in Badlapur near Thane being ransacked after two minor girls were reportedly sexually assaulted in a school. We had a horrific gang rape case reported from alleged gang rape in Uttar Pradesh. Where does the buck stop? These are three different governments run by three different parties. Where does the buck stop? Does it stop with the politicians, the police, the hospital staff in Kolkata? Where does it stop?
Rajdeep, first let me say that every rape is heinous. Every rape should be, the rapist should be held accountable. And secondly, let me say it's not a question of just one party versus the other, one state versus the other, one culture versus the other, one religion versus the other. If you look at international data, India does not have amongst the highest rape rates, but that's nothing to be proud about, because in a population of 1.44 billion and counting, the number of rapes that we hear about are just a tip of the iceberg. The buck doesn't stop with anybody. The buck has to include all of us. Primarily, I would say that we lack enough policing. Our police are poorly equipped, including the forensic part of it. They are poorly trained, they are poorly motivated, and constantly your politicians, bureaucracy, everybody interfering with the police work. This has to stop. We also have to understand that when I was head of NCW, this is as an aside, I'm saying it just to show that it's not as if police women are all empowered. I once had a meeting with some of the local police women in Noida, because that's where our office was. And they told me that, Didi, I'm sure everybody here understands Hindi, Didi, hum kya kare? हमारे लिए तो बाथरूम जाने के लिए भी जगह नहीं है. आदमी तो कहीं भी चला जाता है. पानी की बात छोड़िए, टॉयलेट कहाँ जाए हम लोग? पानी ना पिए तो क्या हो जाएगा? So you understand that I'm not saying that we should give a clean chit to our police, certainly not. But the police we need police reforms. The reforms include not only what I have said, but a hell of a lot more. I'm sorry for the language. Secondly, we need judicial reforms. Look at the number of cases that are pending, even rape cases. Nirbhaya took 10 years. This is with her mother following up. At every stage, you have lawyers who are unscrupulous, and I don't care how big, how small, where they are from, what party, blah, blah, blah. That's just blah, blah to me. We have lawyers who come up with the most flimsy excuses, misusing the law to make sure that the people they are defending, that is the rapists, get away with a lighter sentence, get away because they're minor, whatever. We have judges who say, oh, the rights of the rapist. I mean, please spare me that. I don't know what else to say over that. We need judicial reforms too. We, of course, need what Aparna Senji said. That is an absolute change in my mindset. Even now, in the best and the biggest of families, and I'm not talking just about social status and money, etc. I'm talking about people with actual power, political power, etc. Women are second-class citizens. Women want to be safe both in their homes and outside. Quite frankly, the vast majority of us, even today, are not safe within our homes and in our workplaces and in public spaces. These are the three main things.
Okay.
We need more accountability, Rajdeep. Where are the laws are there. Our laws are pretty good, actually. But where is the accountability?
No, accountability of whom? If I, before you conclude, accountability of whom? You mentioned the police.
Take the judiciary, take the victim. I mean, take the, not the victim. Take the rights of the victim, but take everybody who's involved, everybody in a position of power where they can influence.
Okay.
Whether the FIR is filed immediately. Dharna or MLA, doesn't matter which party he comes from. Don't find fault constantly if you're in one party with the other party's a state which is ruled by another party. That's not. At the moment, we are constantly doing tutu meme, and that is not helping. Nobody anywhere, no woman anywhere in the country.
Okay,
we really don't have a united stand against this. When Hathras happens, one party will shout. When Kolkata happens, another party will shout. That's not how women are going to get justice. And this is true for the entire country. I'm a politician. I know I'm going to get lambasted for speaking so frankly, but this is the truth.
I appreciate
it's all about tutu meme.
I appreciate you speaking so candidly about this tutu meme, as you're calling it, that there is selective application in a way of our outrage depending on which state it happens in, but you effectively reflected at the political leadership
by everybody, especially the police and the bureaucracy.
Let's focus for a moment on that criminal justice system, because you raised the issue of police and the judiciary. D. Rupa, as an IPS officer, a woman IPS officer, is it your belief that the police of this country is simply not sensitized to issues of women's safety, that therefore there is this delay often in filing FIRs? Where is the problem?
I would say the gender sensitivity among the police has to be constant and continuous. From the time I joined service 20 years ago, gender sensitivity programs have been going on. But then the sensitivity remains for about 15 days, 1 month, and then with the change of so many things, environment, the people unlearn it. I mean, the police unlearn it. So every time they have to be constantly reminded and trained. I do agree that a lot more needs to be done. First of all, our police stations are not very accessible places, that too for women victims. Many a time I tell, if you are stalked by someone or harassed by someone, by a man, please go and report at the police station. That acts as a deterrent. But then there comes a return answer from the victim saying, but that police station itself is so bhayanak. It's an environment where I can not easily go and speak my mind or speak my emotions or what I went through. So that definitely needs to be given.
Now, how does that change? Ma'am, how does the asymmetry of power between a woman, let's say, going to a police station, a woman who's been sexually assaulted, or going with her family members to a police station, and there you have men, predominantly men, in their uniform. There is an asymmetry of power. How is that going to change, D. Rupa?
Definitely there is asymmetry of power, because the percentage of women in police stations is average around 10%. and that many states have given women representation through women quota, but the average thing happens to be 10%. But there also the sensitivity needs to be there, because they're not professional. Many a time policemen, policewomen also bring in their biases, unfortunately, bring in their stereotypes, and ask the victim questions which further victimizes them. Ki tum wahan kyun gayi thi? Why did you go there? Why did you have to go at that late night? What were you wearing, and why were you wearing that? What was your behavior that prompted somebody else to react that way to you? These questions definitely victimize, and therefore I say the number of cases of sexual violence are very much underrepresented, be it Kolkata or Bangalore or any village or Uttar Pradesh or Bihar, and in general in the world.
Okay.
And definitely we need to keep politics out of this, because Rajdeep, not to have my body violated is a basic human right. If you ask me, I will give you shelter, food, and not your body to be violated. Which one would you choose? Though it's not a very theoretically, if you ask which one you would choose, every woman, I think, would choose her body not to be violated. So that comes basic, and therefore food, shelter might still be there. We are spending so much on food and shelter. The government spend a lot on various programs, but women's safety is still not such a priority on the lines of food and shelter.
Okay.
So that we need to look into.
Okay,
and definitely.
I take your point, but you know, as we said, there is supposed to be gender sensitization of our police officers. Clearly, that's not happening. Am I correct, D. Rupa, very quickly, that the gender sensitization programs are there, but at the ground level, at the level of a thana, at the very bottom, the police station, it's not necessarily percolating down. Am I correct? And would having more women police officers change that?
Yes, I wouldn't say everywhere. No, it's not that it's a grim, not a grim situation everywhere. We can't generalize it, but mostly it is like that, because the police also come from this society. They are not aliens. So development does not mean change in gender sensitivity. Development does not mean infrastructure will definitely not lead to acceptance of women and giving their choices and all that. There is a cultural lag. This cultural lag, that is social norms, it needs to change, and it will change at a very slow pace. And for that, we need police, the government, as well as the citizens' participation.
Okay, let me bring in Meera Sood, because we've looked at policing for a moment. Let's look at the law itself. The criminal justice system. Lalita Kumaramangalam mentioned the Nirbhaya case. It took 10 years in what should have been an open and shut case. We all talk of fast track justice, but we don't get fast track justice. Is that a solution, or are our courts simply overburdened that it's so easy in a way to poke holes in a case that is made out by the prosecutors, and as a result, there will be people who will get away or certainly be able to drag on the case for years on end?
Rajdeep, I don't disagree with the issues that have been raised by the panelists before me. They all have a place. There is a need for, of course, more efficient criminal justice system, though I would also say that there's a limit to how fast a fast track court can go, because there are procedures in place that are also there for a reason. Social change and sensitization, of course, nobody can deny its importance. But, I also want to say that women's rights, these basic rights, cannot also be held hostage to when and how society will evolve. There are things that we can do, and I want to highlight those a little bit. There are things that we can do irrespective of how long it's going to take society to evolve.
No, but highlight to me what the courts can do. What can the courts do?
If we have certain systems in place, then, a lot of these problems and those systems are adhered to, and there is integrity to those systems. It is not about, yes, it would be great if our police officers on the ground are all sensitized and feminist. But, even in the absence of that, I would love for them to all be feminists, but they don't have to be feminists. They just have to be doing their jobs. So, some
what can Meera, I want to ask you, what can the courts do? What can the courts do that they're not doing at the moment?
I'm not on the courts right now. I'll come to that. But I think what needs to happen is a mainstreaming of gender rights and gender policy in every single institution, in the design of every institution, from the architecture of a building to, every aspect of every institution that is running. There needs to be gender audits. There needs to be a gender aspect to the functioning and the reporting of every single institution, whether it is, as I said, physical infrastructure, whether it is complaint and dispute resolution infrastructure, internal, whether it is assistance. There are all these things that institutions can and should do, right? Whether it is a criminal justice related institution or a government office, part of the bureaucracy, whether it is a hospital, whether it is anywhere, there are systems in place that, that will go a long way. We're talking about things like there are no adequate toilets. There are no, we can look at a lot of, elimination of situational harm.
No, I take the systemic, I'm trying to look for you to weigh in on the issue of the way judges respond to these cases, particularly lower court judges. There's a sense that the lower judiciary in particular does not give the woman the kind of justice that she needs.
So I think there are a couple of problems there. One is, of course, that things don't move fast enough. And there are a lot of those reasons are not necessarily attributable to courts alone. They are also attributable, they're partly attributable to courts and the functioning of the courts and the court culture. They are also attributable to delays on the part of the investigation authorities. They are also attributable to delays occasioned at times deliberately by lawyers. So yes, all of those loopholes need to be fixed. And then there is a certain timeline that cases will take regardless of these things being fixed, because certain procedures take time and there are appellate stages and all of that. There is also an element of not just sensitization, but empowerment, active empowerment of victims that needs to be done, because in part, a lot of the delays come from hesitation on the part of the victims. There is hesitation or lack of awareness in terms of how to proceed with evidence collection. And I think that in terms of evidence collection, we need to focus more on the testimony of the victim.
Okay, I'm going to...
a little less on hunting for forensics, for example, in situations where they may not exist.
Okay.